Hello and welcome back to Tell Me Your Ghost Story podcast. I am your host, Kassie Askin, here with my co-host husband, Spencer. Say hi, Spencer.
Hello.
I am so excited to finally dive into this topic that I have been working on for quite a while now, and I've kept it a complete secret from you, Spencer, so that we can bear witness to your true and honest reactions here. I really wanted a genuine experiment. Whenever I've been, spoiler alert, I did read a book about a topic, but whenever I was reading this book, I was like, don't look at me, ignore me, don't look at this book, don't read the cover of this book. Are you ready to finally learn what it is? And do you have any guesses?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I'm surprised because when I was picking you out off that website, it did not mention that you could read. So this is pretty cool.
Life's full of little surprises.
Feels like a bonus. But the only thing that I could kind of think, just based on like when you're like, hey, ignore that, it's for an experiment, was like, which I really did. I did ignore it. And I took your word for it that it was for an experiment. But I thought maybe it was something like where you're talking to the rice and you're like saying good job to this rice and you're saying you're bad to this other rice to see if one stays healthy and one turns disgusting.
That is part of one of the experiments I did. I'm just going to get into it.
Okay.
I read and performed E² 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality by Pam Grout. It's basically like a manifestation experiment book. The concept that your thoughts create your reality, maybe y'all again, see where this is going, is basically the definition of manifestation, which was first written about in the 1850s. But in recent times, it has become a household name because of the book The Secret, which came out in 2006. And before I started reading this, I felt I had a decent-ish understanding of manifestation as much as your average person who is into weird stuff like I am. And we both have a couple crazy manifestation stories ourselves that I want to quickly cover before we dive into this book and the experiments. Do you want to tell the mini fridge story?
Well, first I want to say, you know what else came out in 2006?
What?
Kesha. It's not just any concert.
Year.
It's a Kesha concert. I didn't want to tell the mini fridge story. You're more enamored with that story, so I would love for you to tell it if you don't mind. But I will say I've manifested a lot of things. They're always items at the grocery store.
Oh, that's true.
Always. And it happens a ton. And I'm not joking. I would never lie to anyone. Ever. But really, we've scoured the aisles at the grocery store. And it's just like, let me get to work on this. Give me about 90 seconds. And I'm just like, Picnic brand shoestring potatoes are going to appear. And I swear they're there. And it's obviously fucking useless. It's like in Little Nicky where he's like using his devil powers and it's like, this Coke tastes like Pepsi. It's like he fucking turned the Coke into a Pepsi. But for real, no, there's like some other shit. I actually totally believe in that. Other forms of maybe magic or religion, if you want to lump those together, I'm feeling no romance towards those. But the manifestation, with an emphasis on Ralph's or Lucky's, I'm about that.
Can you manifest Lucky's coming back?
Well, it's never gone. It just fell in love.
Oh, that's true.
So the manifestation was there all along. The true manifestation was the friends we made along the way.
So the mini fridge story, to tell that is, we wanted a mini fridge, and I was like, "Why? Like, okay, let's get the mini fridge. Let's buy one." And you were like, "No, let's just wait a little bit. Let's just wait a second." And then, like the end of that week, your mom's neighbor was like, "I have this mini fridge that I don't want. Do you guys want it?" And we got a free, really nice mini fridge, probably like $200. Mini fridge. It had a really
nice freezer.
The freezer.
They never have the freezer.
Not the ice box. It had a freezer. Mm-hmm. Also, that one time, it was pretty early in the pandemic. You were like, you should text Soraya. Do you remember that? Soraya is my oldest best friend. We met and became best friends in first grade. And at that point, we hadn't talked in like kind of a long time. It was probably like 2 years at that point. And out of nowhere, you were just like, you should text Soraya. And I was like, okay, yeah, I will. But then I didn't. And then the very next day, she texted me. I had a really weird recent one right after we went to the Renaissance Fair, which is like always one of my absolute favorite days of the year. If you have a Renaissance Fair by you, especially if you're located by the Ren Fair in Irwindale, California, which is the one that we go to, you need to go. It's just the best. Anyway, I said to you multiple times after the Ren Fair that I was so sad that turkey legs are not a more common thing.
Like, oh, dude.
Yeah. Like you can get them at Disneyland or the Ren Fair, and that's pretty much it, at least in like the greater Los Angeles area. But like 2 weeks after we went to the Ren Fair and 2 weeks of me mourning that I have to wait a whole nother year to get a turkey leg, a little empty restaurant space on our street, walking distance, put up a sign for the new occupants.
It's really not even a restaurant space. It's like a shack.
It's a shack. And it's a turkey leg restaurant.
Like, what the fuck?
When have you ever seen a turkey leg restaurant?
Like, dude.
Never. I was so proud of myself for opening up my world to turkey legs whenever I want them.
Yeah.
And one last small anecdote before we dive into this. Probably the craziest personal manifestation story I've ever witnessed happened when I was in high school. And I'm not going to give away too many details because, one, I want to protect his privacy in case he doesn't want this out there. And two, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he'd want to come on the podcast and tell his story. But anyway, I had a teacher in high school. He was widely beloved by everyone who had him as a teacher, and all the staff, everyone just adored him. He was great. And one day we came to class and you could tell he was different. He sat at his desk and he told us he was sick, he required surgery, and he would be out for a long time recovering. And everyone was completely devastated. We made cards for him before he left for surgery, and then his surgery day came up and we had a sub who was going to be our long-term sub while he was recovering. And we go to school after having the sub for only like 2 or 3 days, and then our teacher's back and everybody's like, what the heck? What happened? What's going on? And he waits until the bell rings, and I'll never forget this. He sits down like on his desk right in front of the class, and he says, from the second the doctors gave me my diagnosis and told me my first step is in my treatment is surgery, I told myself the surgeons are going to operate on me and they're not going to find anything. I'm not going to require this long treatment. They're going to operate. They're not going to find anything, and I'm going to live my life like this never happened. And that is exactly what happened. He came out of surgery and they were like, we don't know how to explain this, but we didn't find anything. We didn't find what we were looking for. And then he had some follow-ups, but he told us he was healthy, and what they thought he had and like went into surgery for, the doctors were actually wrong. This is one of those things that is so crazy that I even kind of start to doubt that it even happened, because it was so long ago. Not to age myself, but it was a while ago. But I did text my best friend who had him as a teacher too, and she's like, yeah, I remember when that happened. Anyway, I did find him online, and he still works at the high school I went to. And when the school year starts soon, I have his school email, and I'm going to email him to see if he'd want to tell his story on the podcast. But all that to say, let's dive into this book and the experiments. How this book is formatted is there's a preface which kind of defines terms and introduces us to the concept of manifesting. Then there's 9 chapters that start with information and anecdotes so you can learn about manifestation. And then each chapter ends with an energy experiment for the reader to do for firsthand proof. I'm going to be summarizing each chapter and all of the information as it's presented in the book. And I, for the most part, am putting my own opinions to the side until the end of each chapter, where I share my own experience with the experiments, and then we'll do a big opinion dump at the end. I do have to interject at some points out of necessity throughout the chapters, but there's the disclaimer. Let's get into it now. The book starts off with a quote by Albert Einstein. Ever heard of him?
He's one of the chipmunks.
Exactly. But the quote is, Everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man. In the preface, Pam, the author, describes a situation from her past when she was at a self-improvement retreat and she snuck into one of the massage rooms at this retreat to sleep in one night so she could hear the ocean waves crashing on the beach. And the whole time she was freezing cold because it was wintertime in Big Sur. She had a really terrible night, just struggling to keep warm, but when the morning finally came, she realized that there had been a space heater she could have turned on right at the foot of the massage bed. And she said there's a space heater, or an invisible energy force, which she calls the field of potentiality, or the FP for short. And the FP gives us the ability to shape and design our lives, and it's constantly available for us to use. And the ones who are not using it either are oblivious to the fact that it even exists or are unsure of how to turn it on. And here and now, we are going to learn how to turn the space heater on. Experiment 1. The dude abides principle. There is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities. Pam explains the reason why manifesting isn't working for a lot of people who try is that human brains are easily conditioned into thinking a certain way. Neuroscientists say that 95% of our thoughts are controlled by our pre-programmed subconscious mind. She brings up this example where when she finished college and got a job, she was doing pretty well for herself financially, yet she always had these worries surrounding money. Worrying she would run out of money and questioning if she could afford certain things that she needed. But then she realized that those thoughts were just clones of comments her mother often made as she was growing up, and the thoughts really were not her own. These attachments to conventional reality are referred to as limiting beliefs, and these can tether a person, and in order to fully harness manifestation, one must get rid of these. And it definitely takes time and practice, but if you treat your brain kind of like housebreaking a puppy, you can override and get rid of these limiting beliefs. You got to keep taking the puppy outside over and over again until by default it goes outside to pee. And Pam says the energy field is 100% reliable as a math principle. 2 + 2 always equals 4, and your every thought always affects your physical reality. She explains it as when you set an intention, let's say my intention is I want to open a hot dog cart business. The second I think I'm going to open a hot dog cart, you have actually created that successful hot dog cart and it is aligned in your future. And you can think of it as me right now, pre-hot dog cart. I am in floor 2 of a building and the successful hot dog cart is on floor 17. And I just need to take the elevator up to floor 17. I don't doubt that floor 17 exists. I don't worry that I can't get to floor 17. I just step onto the elevator and I press 17 and I go. Some guidelines she provides. We do have to be concise when manifesting, the same way you'd never just walk onto a used car lot and say, oh, just get me something that I would like. And you have to give it specific time frames, the same way you'd never call up a plumber to fix your overflowing toilet and say, just come by and fix it whenever you feel like it. You always have to be definite and crystal clear in your intention. And these experiments and manifesting in general are completely useless without your full 100% participation. So on to our first experiment. You are to devote 48 hours to looking for evidence of this all-knowing, all-perfect field of potentiality, the FP. And to up the stakes, you ask the FP for an unexpected gift. A special gift you wouldn't normally receive. A surprise check in the mail, a card from an old friend, something that is truly unexpected. You do not get to specify the blessing, but you do need to give it a clearly defined request and a concrete deadline. Pam gives some examples of these gifts from her friends who have done the experiment. One of her friends received a raise. Another friend received a handmade leather purse as a surprise gift. Another friend received a free ski trip to Lake Tahoe. And lastly, her friend was sitting on a park bench, and a 2-year-old boy, who she didn't know, came up and sat beside her on the park bench, and they smiled at each other like two reunited soulmates.
Not even...
I don't even... I can't even believe that, like, made it through rounds of editing. Like, just saying, like, middle-aged woman and 2-year-old and soulmates in the same sentence. But anyway, I want to...
It's all started with that damn smile.
Okay, let's move on. I want to stop thinking about that. In order to carry out the experiment properly, you have to set aside all skepticism for just 2 days and expect to see proof. It can help to repeat the intention, which is this. I'm giving you 48 hours to make your presence known. I want a thumbs up, a clear sign, something that cannot be written off as coincidence. So, can you think of anything that happened like 2 months ago that maybe felt like a gift? Some unexpected money, maybe finding some money that was once lost.
2 months ago?
About 2 months ago. Maybe a gift card.
In June?
Maybe like the end of May.
The end of May.
A gift card.
Finding a gift card.
For gas.
Oh, yeah. We found the on the road.
Yeah.
I did.
You did. I was with you.
It was just in my car.
In my car.
Your car.
Yeah. But it was lost for like a year. So
yes, that's true. That was a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a ton of money.
That was a ton of money.
That was $750 from Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah. Do you want to explain the on
Yeah,
the road?
so we played my band, the Gromble. I was giving everybody time to go look them up. So, my band played, and Willie Nelson was doing a thing with Live Nation where he actually pays people money. I'm sure it comes right out of his pocket, out of his braids, where he pays people money and Shell gas cards, Willie Nelson's On the Road program. And, of course, I left home with the merch box that night, and we had our On the Road cards in the merch box. And, fuck if I know where they went.
They vanished until I manifested them back for you.
It's true. And of course it's like, hey, you know where those gas cards went? It's like, yeah, I've got it. Don't worry about it, guys. Fucking lay off me. And, of course I had no idea where they were. Yeah. I thought they were in the merch box.
So that kind of did feel like a gift. Like technically it's yours and you'll use it for your band, but hey, what's mine is yours and what yours is mine because we're married and it's our money.
Totally true.
So
that's a ton of money.
It was a lot of money.
I mean, look, I kept telling my band, yeah, I knew where they were. I was not counting on finding those again.
But I would say experiment one worked.
Dude, if that was around that same time, yeah. I'm totally with you.
That was like a day and a half after I started.
Wow.
And I gave it 48 hours.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Okay. Experiment 2.
I'll wake up.
The Volkswagen Jetta principle. You impact the field and draw from it.
Wait, you're just going to make your whole house smell like crayons now?
What?
Jettas always smell like crayons.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Experiment 2, the Volkswagen Jetta principle. You impact the field and draw from it according to your beliefs and expectations. What we learn in this chapter is that the world out there reflects what you want to see or what you are looking for. If you're looking for anger, annoyance, hatred, you will find that. If you're looking for success and happiness, you will find that. She describes a time when she saw a woman at the airport at like a tram station between terminals, and this woman was like obviously very annoyed and angry and was struggling with her luggage, and she was holding like way too many things and they were falling everywhere, and this woman was yelling like, where is the tram? What's taking so long? This is unacceptable. Where is the tram? But the tram...
Just like out into the ether?
Yes.
Okay.
But the tram was there and people were getting on and off, and then it left and it happened again. The tram arrived, people got on and off, and it left again, but this lady just physically did not see the tram because she was so committed to annoyance and anger that she straight up did not see it. Which reminds me of a recent experience the other day in the lobby of our building when this lady, we both needed to use the call box to get into our building, and she was very agitated and annoyed, and she was like poking at it while like grumbling, and then it finally let her in, and she was rude to us. You're like not allowed to like let people in, you're supposed to key yourself in, but she was kind of rude to us and was like, how do we know you live here? And she did the right thing. She definitely could have done it nicer, but hey.
Yeah, that's maybe like the that last Trump interview. You could have said it in a nicer way.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying to her.
We're in fucking gym clothes, like all sweaty with towels. It's like, well, this is how we dress to rob people,
So she was not nice about it. So I used the call box and it worked perfectly the first time. And then we were unfortunately and kind of fortunately stuck in the elevator with her. We proved, that we lived in the building.
Yeah, we're like, we'll buzz ourselves in.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, how do we know you live here? Well, who the fuck are you, dude? How do we know you live here? Yeah. You don't even fucking live here.
She was on the phone, like ranting to someone how our call box is broken and it never works. And like we pay all this money to the HOA.
You don't pay shit, dog.
But she was ranting about the call box not working. And we saw it not working for her, but it has never once given me an issue. And it worked for me perfectly right then.
That was a very astute observation.
Thank you.
I understand what you're putting together now.
Thanks.
And she was just mean.
She was committed to annoyance.
I'm not.
That's a nice way to put it. Anyway, this experiment is called the Volkswagen Jetta principle because it's like once you become aware of a certain make or model of car or you buy a new car,
you just randomly picked a Jetta?
Yeah.
Does it work with a Passat?
Sure. But
those are more rare.
Yeah, once you buy
I love that car.
Once you buy a new car, you seem to see it everywhere, which I can confirm has happened to me in my life. And there is even a term for this. It's called the frequency illusion or the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. One could argue that you're just more aware of the Volkswagen Jetta, so you're seeing it more because usually you just not even file it away in your brain. But a true manifester would say, no, I am creating this reality with my own thoughts. So for 24 hours, the author gives you the directions to look for sunset beige colored cars. In the 24 hours after that, you are looking for butterflies. And the author promises that you will see these things. So the first 24 hours, I'm looking for sunset beige colored cars. And I had to Google what sunset beige colored car was, honestly, because like, obviously I know what beige is, but sunset beige, like,
what is that?
It's just like a flat, matte, tan type of color.
Okay.
Really fancy name for just like a tan car. But on the day I was doing the experiment, it was a rather slow day for me. Honestly, not a lot of chances to see a bunch of cars, but it was that day, do you remember, where Lindsay came here and her guitar was here? She was picking up her guitar that was at our house.
I wasn't here.
Right.
She picked it up just from you.
Right.
Yes.
So normally on a day like this, I would not really go outside unless I'm taking Moo for a walk, but I had to go downstairs to give our friend Lindsay her guitar. And I swear I walked out of the building and the first car that I saw was like unmistakably sunset beige. Like it wasn't gold. This was the most beige car I have ever seen. The first car. And I wish I could have gotten a picture of it, but it happened so fast. It was driving, it was moving away from where I was. And honestly, at this point, I was like in task mode. So I really was not thinking about looking for beige cars, but I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And then I did walk Moo later in the day and I saw maybe a couple more beige cars on that walk, but the first one really did strike me. And granted, beige isn't the most common car color in the world, but it's still like a pretty standard color.
Kind of coming back.
Sure.
It's coming around.
Sure. It's not like a pink car or anything, but the fact that it was the absolute first car that I saw of the day and I wasn't even really thinking about it at the time, that was pretty silly and cool. Then the next 24 hours I was to look for butterflies. And on this day I went to a thrift store and I did see 2 butterfly items in this thrift store. I saw a backpack that had butterflies on it and a notepad that had a butterfly on it. And honestly, going in there, again, I had kind of forgotten about looking for butterflies. And then I saw the first one on the backpack and it reminded me that I was looking for butterflies. So I was like, let me see how many butterflies I can find in here. And honestly, I thought it would be a lot more than just one more. Like butterflies are kind of a standard common decor item in my opinion. Anyway, I thought I would see more than 2. But nonetheless, I did see 2.
I thought you would see a live butterfly.
Ew.
What was that last one about? What was the point of this last one? To tell you that if you're thinking about seeing stuff, you will see them?
You impact the field and draw from it according to your beliefs and expectations. It's a weak one. I'll give it to you.
I don't even know if that principle is weak. I just think that the results for this one were a little weak.
Yeah, they weren't.
You know, I saw a beige car. Okay, that's cool. I saw some butterfly stuff. That is cool.
It didn't blow my mind.
I would, if I were her, I mean, depending on what these other ones are like, I would maybe just place that a little bit later. Because like for the second one, it would have been nice to have more of a banger.
A boom. Yeah. But we're still learning. We're learning as you read the book. We might not be as strong of a manifester right away.
Oh, okay. Well,
We're
that's
kind
cool.
of
Yeah.
building our juice up.
All right. Yeah, it's like you start with that one. It's kind of like, maybe I'm just going to read Twilight again.
Experiment 3, the Albie Einstein principle. You too are a field of energy. For this experiment, Pam explains Einstein's theory of relativity, specifically his theory that matter can be considered a form of energy and can be converted into energy. Matter and energy are not the same thing, but two forms of the same thing. If you break down any matter, like the couch we're sitting on, or my computer, or myself, you will find vibrating particles and empty space. This is because energy is nebulous, but she postulates that you can influence how it flows through you. And how you vibrate affects what you attract. If you want money, you have to act like a rich person. If you want to own a hot dog cart, you have to start acting like a hot dog cart owner. So the third experiment here is to prove that your thoughts and feelings also create energy waves. So
is she constantly fucking talking about hot dogs in this book?
I actually...
Or did you add the hot dogs in?
I added the hot dog cart.
She never mentions the hot dog.
Maybe she does.
Because you've mentioned hot dogs many times.
I think that's the last time.
Okay. I'm just curious.
So she instructs the reader to create what she calls Einstein wands. And Einstein wands are two wire coat hangers that are untwisted into two straight wires, then folded into L's. You put the short part of the L into a drinking straw. Essentially, what she's having you create are dowsing rods. And if your TikTok algorithm is different than mine, you may not know what dowsing rods are. But recently I've gotten these amazing videos on my TikTok feed with this lady asking the spirits or the universe or whatever you want to call it, a bunch of serious to wildly unserious questions with these dowsing rods. My favorite is when she asked the spirits if hot dogs are sandwiches. And the spirit said yes. One more mention of hot dogs. I apologize.
Okay, you're saying the...
But different context.
What if it... Every, 90 seconds... Oh, shit, I forgot about this one.
Oh, no.
Okay, so they were saying that the son of God was sucking on a chili dog outside the Tasty Freeze. Okay, but for real, this is the last time we're talking about hot dog. So I want you to think about... Well, this one's covered in chili, and it is outside the Tasty Freeze. So you just imagine that you are outside the Tasty Freeze. There's a Jack. There's a Diane. All right, I'm good.
Yeah.
I had to get that one out.
It's really good. So how you do this is you hold these rods like you're slinging two guns, and the long part is the barrel, and the short part is in the straw. It's the grip. And you'll find that the barrel part moves around with great ease.
I gotta see a graphic.
I'll put one.
Okay.
And then you can consult the spirits or the universe or whatever and say, show me what yes is. And the yes can be the barrels crossing, or yes can be the barrels turning opposite ways. So I actually did, instead of making the cheap-ass Einstein wands, I did actually make the investment into a pair of dowsing rods. These are genuine 100% pure copper dowsing rods, purchased for the low price of $13.99 on Amazon. So, Spencer, why don't you open these up here, and you can examine and play with them while I do some further explaining, and you can let the people know what you think about them. So Pam instructs you to hold the rods and think of an unpleasant event from your past. And your energy will travel through the rods and they will constrict and cross. Then when you think of a loving or joyous memory, the rods will open their arms up and stretch outward and face away from each other to welcome in the loving energy. And then you can look at an object in your far left field of vision and the rods will turn left, and you can look towards something in your far right and they'll turn to the right. And I did this experiment. Here, I'll let you have a second with them, and why don't you just live report on what's happening.
Okay, what do I do with them?
Yeah, you're holding them right.
Okay.
So you'll notice they move as if they have a mind of their own. They're very easy to move, right? So now they're crossing. Try to stay as still as you can with them just pointing forward.
Okay.
You'll find it's...
These are from Temu?
Amazon.
Okay.
So see, it's super hard to keep them straight. But you're doing a very good job. They're very straight right now.
Thank you.
How hard are you working to keep them straight?
Not that hard.
Okay.
I'm very straight. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody's got a little something.
So I did this experiment, and I hate to be a hater ass bitch, but these things are not legit in my opinion, allegedly. In my experience, the rod itself by nature is at a very unstable equilibrium. Like, it's very hard to keep it still. Even though, Spencer, you are doing great at keeping these still.
Thank you. Well, I buy all my ancient warlock stuff off Amazon. I've never had an issue.
Yeah. So they're at an unstable equilibrium. It's very hard to keep them still. And even the smallest of movements make them move in any tiny little direction that you slightly move. You're just really good at it. So even if you can't, okay, try to be like a little lax with them right now. Be less good at it.
Yeah.
Think of a question.
How long is the world's longest hot dog?
Yes or no?
Oh, it has to be yes or no.
How can it give you a number?
Oh, I forgot. I wasn't paying attention to that part. I'm sorry.
So
okay, hold on. Okay, hold on.
Usually,
hold on. Okay, I'll do a yes or no style. Could I eat the world's longest hot dog?
They don't want to answer. You're too good at it.
Okay. Could me and Moo collectively finish the world's longest hot dog?
They say, like, usually it's like if they cross, it's yes. Oh. No, you're just too good at it.
I'm not doing anything.
Oh. You have very steady hands. Okay, they crossed.
I'm kind of fudging it. I'm just ready to not be holding these anymore. I could get them to stop again. I think these are just bad ones. No offense, Amazon. I'm usually such a fan.
In my experience, it's really hard to hold them really still. You didn't try with these ones. I tried with those, yeah. You open the other side of the box. It was open on the other side. You just wanted to make a little bit more noise.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. I was like, you didn't open them before.
No, I did.
I wish you would have told me.
Sorry.
We probably can't take them back now.
No, I'll keep them. I'm fine with keeping them. Sure. It's a good thing to have, even though I think they're a scam and not real. But in my experience,
does a hot dog taste good?
Yes.
Okay. How will we hear more about hot dogs in this presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Are all beef kosher hot dogs better than the full spread pork and parts comp?
Decline to answer. It's saying no. No, it said no.
Okay, dude. I kind of think these are onto something. Okay. Now I'm into it. I'm into it.
Great.
All right. Okay. You got me convinced.
You're into them. And I say they're fake, but.
No. Look, if it had told me, like, yes, an all beef hot dog is better than, like, the sweep junk off the floor and roll it, I would be like, this thing is garbage. Throw it away. But it said no. It said no. The parts caster hot dog that we know and love is more tasty, which it is. That's just a fact. So
do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually think you're not going to want to hear this. I think that everything is a taco. Everything.
What about
everything?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Everything.
Caviar.
Not caviar.
Anchovies.
Every entree.
Okay. Soup.
I think we're backing up too close to dinner.
Okay. I did want to say before we move on that I don't think that people who use dowsing rods are intentionally trying to fake out and deceive people.
But you sounded like it.
I think that the people using them just may be totally unaware to the fact that they're slightly moving subconsciously, and that's what's causing the movement of the wands. But who am I to say? They could be real. Anyway.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I was moving a little bit, I guess. I don't think I have steady hands at all. I don't think I have steady hands.
You were doing really good
at all.
Keeping them straight.
I can't believe that those were straight. But when I did ask it the question, I wasn't moving any other way to get it to say no versus when I had it say yes. Sure. So that was a genuine reaction of like surprise.
I did try it where I like steadied my hands on a table and I was there for like 3 minutes and they didn't move at all. But I mean, some people could say the universe and the spirits need to move through you and the universe is the one influencing your movement. But it's really easy to fake, and I'm not saying that anyone is out there faking it, but I'm not super sold on them.
Some people say a lot of shit.
Anyway, let's move on to experiment 4, which is the abracadabra principle. Whatever you focus on expands. In this section, Pam puts forward that when it feels like manifesting isn't working, it may be because you're putting out too many requests out into the universe and not focusing in on specifics. She explains that the average person has 60,000 thoughts per day. I did check on this, and there have been several studies measuring thoughts per day, and they vary from like 6,000 to 70,000. But I can pretty much guarantee you that I've had like many 500 thought days, maybe even 200 to 300 thought days, like TV, food, dog, nap, TV, bed. And that's a good day, in my opinion, a 200 thought day. Any way you slice it, you have a ton of thoughts per day, no matter how many thousand it is. And if you're not strategic, the FP is getting rather clouded with too many or possibly contradictory requests that you've put out. So in this experiment, you are creating a laser beam with your thoughts to show that you really can manifest whatever you want as long as you are very specific about it. In experiment 4, you are to magnetize something into your life. You must be extremely specific, down to the exact make and model, and you have to give the universe 48 hours to bring it to you. Pam suggests that since you've only got 48 hours, it would be wise to start off with baby steps, because unless you're a very experienced manifester, you may still have those limiting beliefs in your subconscious. So if you're trying to manifest a car, she's saying that's not impossible, but your thoughts at present could veer to this is impossible. So start with something that you think is possible. My intention for this experiment was $100 cash. And I believed with everything I had in me that I could make $100 cash happen in 48 hours. It was not that crazy. But it didn't happen for me. So the next 48 hours, I invited $50 cash into my life. Nothing happened. For the 48 hours after that, I focused on receiving the $20 cash that the universe had for me. Nothing. So I guess I need to work harder on accepting the very specific monetary cash gifts from the universe into my life.
That's a weird one. That one does happen to me all the time.
You are always like, I need $300 to pay off this credit card. And then the next day, someone will be like, hey, are you free on Saturday? $300 for this gig. It'll be like the exact same amount. And you're like,
I need $297.45 for this specific payment. And then it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
You're better at it than me. So that's why we're married.
Yeah. That specifically is really weird, and it always happens like straight up like 2 days after.
Day. Yeah. Moving on to experiment number 5, the Dear Abby principle. Your connection to the field provides accurate and unlimited guidance. In this chapter, we learn that the universe is there anytime you need guidance for any matter in your life. Pam explains that if you feel stuck on a decision or want change somewhere in your life, you should not waste your time and energy hammering it out yourself. All you have to do is ask the universe and sit back and wait for an answer. She gives an anecdote of one of the many times that this has happened to her. When her daughter was a baby, the baby had a 106-degree fever. And Pam...
She's not coming back from that. That baby's going to be weird.
And...
It's a hot kid.
Yeah.
Flamboyant Wet Willie over there.
Pam describes being frantic with worry and baffled as how to bring her baby's raging fever down, when suddenly, she says, a voice of startling clarity surfaced in her mind, and it said, I didn't give you this great gift just to take it away. And while reading this, I was like, okay, great. This voice is like, get this baby to a hospital. But no, she's just like, I then knew that all would be well. And her daughter survived. And I want to make a note that...
What year was this?
It probably like late 90s, early 2000s.
God.
Yeah, I want to note that if your baby has 106-degree fever, that's life-threatening. And if you're baffled about how to bring down a fever of that severity, I hope that the universe guides you to a hospital.
I was baffled?
Yeah, I'm not a medical professional, but like 106 is crazy.
What about an ice plunge?
What about medicine? What about the hospital?
Did she try medicine?
She doesn't say.
Okay, maybe she tried.
Yeah.
Probably not, though. She's all into this new age shit.
She describes like being at home and like...
It's chicken soup.
Yeah. I mean,
Do
maybe...
we have any soup?
Yeah. We got ramen in the pantry.
Gotta wrap this up. How many things do we got? I gotta get home.
We have...
No, I'm just joking.
The next one is 6.
This one... I don't know.
I didn't tell you the experiment yet.
Yeah, but I was gonna comment on it anyway.
This one sucks as well.
Listen. I don't like this baby being on fire.
Yeah, I know.
How old's
she
the
survived.
baby?
She survived. She didn't say how old, but she just said baby.
But damaged
the baby
goods.
survived.
I mean, come on. You know that Jerry Springer show, Baggage?
Yeah, I was thinking about baggage the other day. I really was.
One. Okay.
Like 2 days ago when I was making dinner.
How often is someone thinking about baggage?
I thought about the show Baggage.
That's actually really weird. Okay. But you know, it's like baggage. It's like, they like open up the suitcase. And it's like, once I had 106-degree fever, and the guy's like, somebody's got 106 fever that high. There's no way they're coming back from that. You're gone. And she's like,
gone.
Super hot, like really nice. It's like totally his type. And he's like, oh man, you were the 106-degree fever? Ah, dang. I wish I had known. What'd your mom do? And she's like, she just manifested.
She got advice.
She got advice from like the
FP.
Like a phantom voice. And he's like, oh, okay, you know, actually I feel good about my decision. It's cool.
Yeah.
You can actually leave. My mom is Pam Grout.
Yeah.
E equals 9 squared.
Yep.
E squared. Pam Grout. You ever heard of her? No, I haven't, because I'm actually on baggage on UPN right now. So no, I don't really read a lot of like woo-woo type stuff.
Anyway, in this experiment, you're to ask the universe for guidance on a specific topic or question, and you are to give it 48 hours to come back with a response. So I chose a relatively surface level topic to ask for guidance on. I've been wanting to go on vacation, and we haven't been on vacation since our honeymoon. So I was like, you know what? It's time. Universe, tell me where we should go on our next vacation. And I gave it 48 hours. I was specific. The 48 hours came and went with no big signs or answers. I did obviously see some like things on the internet about certain travel destinations, but nothing really felt like, yes, this is the sign. So I was like, okay, let's restart. Another 48 hours came and went with nothing. And I went to bed that night feeling a little defeated and a little bit like the universe is telling me there will be no more vacations. But I go to sleep that night after the 96 hours. And in my dream that night, it was a normal dream. I can't remember what I was doing, but it was business as usual in my dream. And out of nowhere, in the dream, a man I didn't recognize just walks up to me and hands me a piece of paper. And it's like lined, college-ruled paper, ripped into a thin strip. And I look down at the thin strip of paper, and handwritten on it, it just says, "This year, Las Vegas." So it looks like we're going to Las Vegas soon.
You know what's hilarious, too? I presented you an opportunity to go to Las Vegas.
You did.
About a week ago.
Yeah.
My sister just offered a trip to Las Vegas completely randomly. She's going on a show in Oklahoma, an entrepreneur show. And she said, hey, I'm leaving for my show. Do you want to do a quick family trip to Las Vegas before I go on the show? And it was like super last minute. It was like the next week or whatever. It was her idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had wanted to do that. I always like going to Las Vegas, but it was my sister's idea anyway.
We'll be back because the universe said so. Experiment 6, the superhero principle. Your thoughts and consciousness affect matter. In this section, we learn about the water experiments of Dr. Masaru Emoto. which were published in 2008. Using more than 10,000 samples of water, Emoto and his research assistants spoke to, played music for, and asked monks to recite prayers over the water. The samples were then frozen, and the resulting ice crystals were examined under a microscope. What Emoto found is that when scientists treated the water kindly by saying things like, "I love you" and "thank you," the resulting water crystals became clear and beautifully formed. But when Emoto and his team talked negatively to the water, screaming things like, "I hate you" or "you idiot," the crystals formed dark, ugly holes. When Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel was played, the resulting frozen crystal split into two. In one photo, he shows how a sample from the dam at Fujihara Lake, starting out as a dark and amorphous blob, is completely transformed after a priest prays over it for just 1 hour. The ugly crystal turned into a clear, bright white, hexagonal crystal. He also found that prayer could create new types of crystals that have never before been seen. These studies are important because water is present everywhere, even in the air, and since the human body and earth both consist of 70% water, it stands to reason that if words and thoughts impact water on its own, they will also affect larger, more complex systems made up of water. So I did look further into what the scientific community has to say about Emoto's experiments. Unfortunately, it's been heavily criticized and deemed pseudoscience or fringe science. Commentators have criticized Emoto for insufficient experimental controls and for not sharing enough details of his experiments with the scientific community. He has also been criticized for designing his experiments in ways that permit manipulation and human error. So, the experiment that goes along with this chapter, you too can complete an experiment with manipulation and human error. I'm kidding, but only not really, kind of. What you are to do is you're instructed to plant 12 green bean seeds in the hollows of an empty cardboard egg carton, and you speak to them. You put your good energy into them and make the intention to only one side that it's going to grow faster than the other side. And Pam claims that by the end of the week, you will see evidence that your intention has manifested. So I did do this experiment. I did opt to use chia seeds in just a plain old Tupperware container because it's easier, and I didn't need soil, and we already had chia seeds. So I placed the chia seeds on a wet paper towel in a Tupperware because chia seeds can grow anywhere. And I put a label on the Tupperware, labeling left and right so it wouldn't get switched up on me. And I put my good energy and encouraging words into one side. A couple times a day, I would go up to the Tupperware and tell one side how proud I was of them, how fast and tall they would grow, and how amazing they are. And the other side, I was like, "You stupid pieces of crap. You will never grow because you are stupid." And I did this for about a week. And I have a photo of the chia seeds here. Spencer, can you look at these right now? And I will put this online and in the YouTube video. But can you tell me if you notice one side is taller or growing better than the other? And don't scroll down because the answer is right below.
Okay. It looks like one of those pictures where you stare into it and then the picture pops out from the 90s.
Magic eye?
It's kind of hard to tell from this angle. I want to say the ones in the center look the best, but maybe skewing a little bit on the right.
You think the right looks better?
Yeah, a little bit on the right. They look like fresher. There's maybe a little more dead ones on the left or dark looking ones.
Okay. So
it's kind of hard to tell from that angle though. So
they didn't grow up very tall.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I thought both sides kind of look the same. I thought on the right, there was a little sliver on the right, which in my opinion looks like it didn't grow.
Did not grow.
Okay. But the left side is what I put my good vibes into, and the right side I put my bad vibes into.
Okay.
But that's interesting. Without that knowledge, you thought the right looked better.
Just a little bit of right.
Oh, I see. There's a good cluster.
Center. Yeah.
On the right.
But it's really
the center,
it's really more
right?
The center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think that it worked?
Not really. I watered them the same, but again, the middle is more lush and green because I think it was getting most of the water. because I'm spraying this side, then I'm spraying this side, and I did the exact same amount of sprays.
So it gets the middle gets the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it was super successful, unfortunately.
But it's possible.
It's possible.
I feel neutral on this one.
Okay. Experiment 7. I'm going to explain this one first before I say the name of it. I want to explain why I'm actually opting out of this one.
Called the aristocrats.
I lied. I only did 8 manifestation experiments, and I apologize for deceiving everyone, but I hope you will understand. I think that this chapter and this experiment promote some ideas that are less than helpful, to put it lightly. In this chapter, the author puts forth that your thoughts and consciousness provide the scaffolding to your physical body, and it's called the Jenny Craig principle. She's wanting you to experiment in losing weight with just your thoughts. And this is just not something that I want to entertain, and I don't think I need to explain why. And reading this chapter felt like I was transported back to like 2005 in the way she was speaking about bodies, and I was disappointed. So I don't recommend anyone reads this chapter, unfortunately, but
I'm interested. I can always say I gotta lose 25 pounds in 4 days.
This chapter was not a total loss. I do want to read you a little bit of how apparently yogurt can feel the feelings that you're feeling. In the documentary film I Am by Tom Shadyac, there's a scene where Shadyac, a famous Hollywood director, visits the Institute of HeartMath, a nonprofit research organization that studies stress and human energy. First, Roland McCready, the Institute's longtime director of research, hooks electrodes to a bowl of yogurt. Although the yogurt is widely regarded as an inert blob, McCready uses the electrodes to demonstrate that it responds to Shadyac's thoughts and emotions. The needle on the bioresponse meter oscillated wildly when he was asked about an earlier marriage. It flew off the charts when he mentioned his lawyer, with whom he confirmed he had unfinished business with. The yogurt, without being attached to Shadyac in any way, was able to read his emotions. When he brought his attention back to the present, back to the room, the needle went still. We don't exactly know how this works, but we have irrefutable proof that human emotions create a very real energetic field to which other living systems are attuned. McCready states that. Again, I think it goes without saying that I don't believe this, but I do like yogurt. Last thing about this chapter is that she says that a yogi named Alan Finger...
That's what I'm looking at right now. That's what I'm laughing at.
Yeah. A yogi named Alan Finger lost 100 pounds in 1 month by just doing special breathing exercises. And I tried to find at least one other source for this. But that 100-pound in a month weight loss claim can only be traced back to this book. I found Alan Finger. He's been found, but absolutely nowhere else could I find information on that miracle.
Well, hey guys, I'll try this one for you.
Okay, great.
And I will report back.
He'll report back.
Next time.
Great.
I'll do the dirty work so she doesn't have to.
Perfect. Experiment 8, the 101 Dalmatians principle.
Oh, hey, Moo can do this one.
Moo's opening the book.
She's ready. Here, let me get you to this.
The 101 Dalmatians principle. You are connected to everything and everyone else in the universe. In this second to last experiment, you will prove that you are interconnected with everyone and everything through an invisible field of intelligence and energy. Pam lightly covers quantum non-locality and quantum entanglement, which are 2 legit quantum concepts.
I'm just thinking about the guy from Natalia, where he's like, so I got a wee bit addicted to porn.
Natalia Grace.
Natalia Grace. That is like what he might explain, like an online relationship that he found himself in. So I was talking to a woman online. We found ourselves into a quantum entanglement.
Moo is actually licking the pages.
She loves the Dalmatians principle.
Take it away. She didn't really explain quantum entanglement to my liking, so I did a little Googling. And again, I'm oversimplifying this.
Dude, you hate her after this Jenny Craig shit.
We'll save my opinions for the end.
All right.
I did a little Googling and I found this information, again, super simplified. Non-locality is the idea that two objects that aren't in contact or local with each other and exchange no particles between each other can nevertheless affect each other. Einstein legitimately called this concept spooky action at a distance. That's real. An example of non-locality is quantum entanglement. In this process, two particles interact with each other, and after they're moved apart, the quantum state of one of them can be measured. The funny part is, though, that whatever state the particle is found to be in, the partner particle will be in the opposite state, suggesting it knew what had been done to its partner. Entanglement has definitely been shown to occur.
That's the funny part.
Yeah. It's kind of silly.
I saw a photo of Charlie Chaplin at 18 years old today. Anyway, carry on.
So entanglement has definitely been shown to occur, but the idea of non-locality is only a theory for how entanglement might work. So it may turn out that there's no such thing as non-locality at all. It may even be beyond our current understanding. Again, much simplified version. The true definition is really lost when you have to simplify it that much, but for the sake of the experiment, there's a brief description of that. Quantum entanglement is real. It has been confirmed by hundreds of experiments in laboratories around the world. In 2022, I'm not going to try to pronounce all of these people's names, but 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their experiments that proved entanglement is real. So Pam kind of zooms out from the quantum level and says that the same phenomenon can be seen in relationships between humans. This phenomenon, entanglement between humans, has been studied too. In 1978, Dr. Jacobo Greensberg Zilberbaum of everyone has to have such a hard name who's a scientist in this. Of the
all the names are actually just Mad Libs.
yeah. Of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, hooked 2 test subjects up to EEG machines in isolated rooms. The brainwave pattern produced by a series of strobe lights in one of the subjects' eyes appeared identically on the other test subject's EEG, even though he was nowhere near those light flashes. This experiment was later replicated by London neuropsychiatrist Peter Fenwick. And I did look into this. There's not a ton on the experiments online, but it does seem that Grinbig, Zilberbaum, and Fenwick and their experiments are legit. It doesn't seem like there have been more attempts at recreating the experiments beyond those 2, but I couldn't find anything discrediting those 2 guys or the experiments or the way they went about their experiments, like the water droplet guy, which is insane. I feel like this warrants a lot more looking into on my end for a future episode. So maybe more on that later. But bringing it back to experiment 8 here, you are to choose a target, someone you have met before, and choose what type of response you want from them. A telephone call, a text, an email. You can even request that they get you a gift and deliver it to you. You are then to place your target in front of your mind's eye and be with your target by embodying and experiencing your connection. You're supposed to use more than just words when thinking about this connection. Try to use all of your senses and believe in your message. To make it a little more effective, throughout the allotted 48 hours, also randomly think good and positive thoughts about this person. So I literally scrolled through my contact list in my phone and I picked a target, and I picked my friend and former bandmate, Richie. I picked him because we are close, but we hadn't talked in a couple months, since May to be exact, which is 3 months ago at the time of recording this. And I thought he was a fair person to pick because it would be significant if I got a text from him after we hadn't texted in like 3 months. I got it. You're thinking of something that happened.
I got it.
I didn't want to shoot too high and pick like my estranged best friend from high school or anything. And again, I was specific with my intention. I wanted a text from him that was just a funny little thing, like maybe an inside joke, nothing crazy. I envisioned my target. I used my senses. I thought about what his laugh and what his voice sounded like. I thought about the practice space we used to practice music at and what that looked like and felt like. It's mostly like a dark, weird smelling lockout. And feelings we felt together when we were in a band together. And I sent him good thoughts and I gave it 48 hours. And literally 16 hours later, I got a text from Richie. And you remember me telling you, but yes. I didn't say anything about it.
Yep.
I was working on my laptop and I saw my phone light up and my jaw, it just completely dropped. And I opened the text and it said, "Hey, Kassie, how you be? Eugene, who is our former bandmate who moved to Japan, is in town. He asked me to send you a last-minute invite to you and Spencer. He said people are meeting around 7 p.m. tonight somewhere in OC." So it wasn't necessarily a funny joke text. It was an invite on behalf of someone else, but still I was in absolute astonishment.
Totally counts.
And I did tell him, I reacted to the text and then I said, "This sounds crazy, but you know, I'm working on a podcast and for one of the episodes, I'm doing energy experiments and I literally summoned this text from you." And he was like equally astonished and thankfully not weirded out in a bad way. I even sent him a screenshot of my Google Doc that proved like the last edit was at 10 p.m. the night before. And that like sealed it for him. He was like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Because I was gonna text him if it didn't happen to ask like, "Can I talk about you in the podcast?" But it worked.
That's crazy.
So we had a good freak out together, honestly. And he said, "Thank you for the good thoughts you sent." And I said, "Thank you for receiving them and for texting me. My mind is still pretty blown from this."
Yeah, me
it
too.
Worked
I mean,
fast.
You'll see on the thing when it hit me. I'm like, oh.
Because I told you, I was like, "Oh, Richie texted me like Eugene is having a little thing."
When you said I was thinking of somebody to text me, I realized what it was.
That one was crazy. I mean, we've done it before, like with Soraya.
But not in the midst of an experiment that you're filming.
True.
I love that one. Results were good. Thanks, Richie.
Thanks, Richie. That was great.
Thanks, Eugene, too. Honorable mention, Eugene.
Yes, with the assist. That's what they call that.
Alley-oop.
Yep. Okay, last experiment. Experiment 9, the fish and loaves principle. The universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. In this final chapter and experiment, we are trying to reframe our minds from what can kind of be considered a default setting in today's world, which is that of a scarcity mindset. And we're trying to turn that into a mindset of abundance because like attracts like. If you want abundance, you must already be in a mindset of abundance. Pam says the reason why some of us might be in a scarcity mindset is that every time we see an advertisement, which is pretty much 24/7 now, ads can come to you and be like, "You don't have this, you need this, and you need 7 of them." And we're seeing billionaires hoard wealth as if they could even spend $1 billion in a lifetime. Pam says we live in a time where enough is never enough. So as a step to retrain your brain from scarcity to abundance is the final experiment where you spend 48 hours, you keep a journal and write down acts of kindness, goodness, beauty, and abundance in the world. And the hypothesis is that if you change your outlook and make a concerted effort to look for those good things, it will show up in spades. So I'm going to share some moments of abundance from my 48 hours doing this experiment. 1, I got a Taco Bell app reward, buy one, get one free beefy 5-layer burrito. A guy said he liked my Def Leppard shirt at the gym.
Yeah.
This was during the time.
Confirmed.
Where that guy, when we were checking out at Rite Aid, just walked in through the doors and just announced, "What up, Rite Aid?" I did get Taco Bell, and they gave me a lot of hot sauce. Kindness right there.
Cool.
And I went to see a scary movie by myself. I saw Oddity, and it really scared me, and it was very good. So I do think it's a good practice to do regardless of anything or any agenda behind it. I've added these bits of kindness into a note in my phone that I'm going to continue to add to whenever I come across a moment of kindness, and then I can read them whenever I'm feeling like I need some kindness. I don't know if I'd call this really an experiment, though. To me, it just feels like a bit of a cop-out for the last experiment, but I do think it's a good practice nonetheless.
She's just asking you to write down like nice stuff that happens?
Yeah.
Essentially?
Yeah. Didn't feel like an experiment that much to me.
What's the
It's supposed to like, because I'm writing everything down, I'm gonna see more.
Then
of
other
it.
nice shit happens?
Yeah.
That's called the Jetta fucking principle. She already did that
yeah,
one.
Exactly. But last thing before we go into opinions, I do feel like I got a rather intentional gift from the universe while carrying out these experiments that does feel pretty crazy. I went to a thrift store, just a Salvation Army, nothing crazy. This is when I was in the middle of experiment 4, trying to manifest smaller and smaller amounts of cash. And it didn't work, but I was looking at books in the Salvation Army, and an astrology book caught my eye. I picked it up thinking I could use it for a future episode on astrology. It's called Astrology, the Space Age Science. And I opened it up. Let's take a look.
She's like, there's a beef jerky in it.
It's a gift for the dog. The dog's very interested in this book right now.
Yeah.
So I opened up this book and I take a look and I noticed that 1, this is a very well-loved and older book, and 2, there are a bunch of handwritten notes inside this book. And there's bookmarks and pieces of paper with notes on them and newspaper clippings all throughout the pages. And the first page, there's a sticker with a name on it, and it's Hazel Maxine Poston. And right under that, she just wrote, "So damn insane." Really cool. So I'm flipping around this book. I'm standing there. It really feels like I'm getting a glimpse into someone's life and beliefs. So I'm like, okay, obviously this is coming home with me. And I keep looking on the bookshelves and I just keep finding weird book of woo-woo stuff after weird book of woo-woo stuff. And I'd open the book and it would have Hazel Maxine Poston's name written on the first page and an equal amount of handwritten notes and chunks of paper stuck into the pages. The books are The Edge of Tomorrow, How to Foresee and Fulfill Your Future, The Game of Life and How to Play It, The Power of Spoken Word, The Secret Door to Success, those are all by Florence Scovel Shinn, and Reframing, Neuro-Linguistic Programming and the Transformation of Meaning. All of these belong to Hazel Maxine Poston. So I feel like I was gifted a small collection of this woman's weird and wonderful books. And there are some more crazy aspects to this. These, again, are older books. And she's written some dates in them. One book says 5/13/83. 3 others say November 18th, 1983. This weird stuff in these books, it was pretty uncommon in the 80s. Like, this lady was really ahead of her time. And also, one of the name stickers on the front page has her address, and it's Anza Avenue in Torrance, California. And yeah, Anza Avenue is a significant street for me because of 2 reasons. My mom lived on that street when she was young, and also our close friends Breezy and Trevin used to live on that street. So I texted both of them and asked what house number they lived on, and my mom couldn't remember, but Breezy sent me their old house number, and it's 0.3 miles away from Hazel's former residence, and I would have to drive by Hazel's old house to get to our friend's house, which I've been to many times. And lastly, these are all woo-woo books, but the 3 books by Florence Scovel Shinn are about manifesting. Shinn was most well known for The Game of Life and How to Play It, in which her main thesis is, and I quote, "The invisible forces are ever working for man who is always pulling the strings for himself, though he does not know it. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever man voices he begins to attract."
Wow.
And these, I feel like the universe is like, here's some more required reading for you, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I did look up Hazel Maxine Poston. I couldn't find too much. Unfortunately, no pictures of her online, but I did find that she was born in 1923 and she passed in December of 2010. So when she was reading these books that she wrote the date in, she was 60 years old.
Whoa.
And I did look up her address on Zillow, and I looked inside the house and where these books lived, and the house looks kind of not updated. Some stuff in the Zillow photos could be original, which was very weird to see. When I got home with these books, I did say out loud, like while holding them, like, "Thank you, universe, for these books. Thank you, Hazel Maxine. I promise to take good care of your books and to do good with the information in them." Also, I'm really curious, like all these books obviously traveled and were donated together, but she passed in 2010. Like, where were these books from the time of her passing when, you know, like your family goes through your stuff and donates what they don't want, but they were donated 14 years later? I'm really curious where these were for 14 years. And I don't know, maybe they were just sitting in a garage of a relative or something, and then finally donated.
Maybe they had her house and then they just finally.
Yeah. The house was sold like 3 months ago.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
Not.
But I thought that was crazy. And maybe that was, maybe the $50 I wanted was the books. It's worth a lot more than $100 cash.
I haven't quite cooked up the right recipe yet, but when she started getting into this, definitely her family was saying like, yep, hazelnut, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Had to get that one out.
Yeah. Okay. Opinions time. So my overall thoughts about this book and these experiments, I really do like some of the ideas put forth here. And some ideas really did change my general outlook for the better, I'll say. I now currently find it easier to focus on the positive and to spend less time thinking about negative possibilities that may happen. I'm genuinely surprised by some of the results of the experiments, and others I'm rather disappointed in. I found some ideas to be pseudoscience-y or oversimplified at best and problematic at worst. Honestly, some sentences made me burst out laughing while reading them because they're so ridiculous, but there is also some really helpful advice. So I'm choosing to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I think if you're interested in learning about manifestation and interested in trying these experiments yourself, definitely go for this book. Be prepared to take it with a grain of salt, and definitely skip the Jenny Craig experiment. The actual writing style of the book I did like. I found Pam to be very funny, and for the most part, it felt like a quick read, but by the end, I was kind of dragging my feet to finish. I do wish the book had an appendix which cited sources of some of the bigger claims that Pam made in the book. Like, I'm looking at you, Alan Finger, with the 100-pound weight loss in a month. Anyway, Spencer, what are your thoughts on everything?
I'm most interested in the Jenny Craig chapter.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. The concept I'm into, the execution, coming from someone who didn't read the book and never will read the book. I give it a C-.
Okay. Great.
No, I think it's okay. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not feeling a ton of romance with Pam Grout. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling more romance with Alan Finger. Some of this is just like, I don't know if it needs to be said. I feel like I have more questions than answers.
Sure. But I feel like looking into any paranormal things, I do come out with more questions than answers. But on that note, I wanted to wrap it all up with a quote that I love. Trust people who seek the truth, but doubt those who say they have found it. And I feel like a little bit in this book, she's like, I found it.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been presented like, here's some cool things to think about, but she's really presenting these as fact, which I do feel a little bit.
It's a little whack, but she does need to get that bread.
Yeah.
So
true.
I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, it sounds positive. She's probably helping people.
Sure.
I think if someone's dumb enough to take this like entirely at face value and like bet their house on something, mm-hmm. then that's harmful. Maybe just be smart.
Mm-hmm. Just be smart.
Includes a brand new manifesting scavenger hunt. You didn't even talk about that.
I didn't do that part.
You know what I don't
There's 22
love?
things.
My wife lied to me. Nobody talked about that.
Anyway, to again wrap it up more with that quote, I'm always going to be wary of people who claim that they have all the answers to these more nebulous aspects of life, because I just think there are so many aspects of reality that we don't understand and probably never will fully understand because we have a human brain, and I think reality is much more complex than a human brain can comprehend. And for me personally, the deeper I dive into the paranormal and unexplained, I come out with more questions than answers, exactly like you said. So for this book of answers, take it with a grain of salt. Some ideas in here are fun to think about and can be really helpful, but I have a hard time saying that this is truth. But all that to say, if anyone tries these experiments, please comment on whatever form you're consuming this on or the pod Instagram, and please let me know what your results are. And I hope you all have bountiful manifestation harvests and can tell me some crazy stories of manifesting. I'm manifesting that anyone who tries this has good manifesting.
I'm all for that. Some of these worked for you.
They did.
So that's great. I just don't like Pam. I don't know why.
Anyway, with that, I'm signing off. Thank you for going on this manifestation journey with me. And please subscribe wherever you listen to this and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Tell Me Your Ghost Story Podcast. Good night to all, and to all a good night. Bye-bye. Say bye, Moo.